Chapter 3 Exercises. Follow along in your manual to complete these review exercises. Some questions require you to review pictures or signs. 1. Teenage drivers are more likely to be involved in a crash when A. They are driving with their pet as a passenger. B. They are driving with adult passengers. C. They are driving with teenage passengers. D. They are driving without any passengers. The answer is C. Teenagers are more likely to be involved in a crash when they are driving with teenage passengers. 2. Drivers who eat and drink while driving A. Have no driving errors. B. Have trouble driving slow. C. Are better drivers because they are not hungry. D. Have trouble controlling their vehicles. The answer is D. Drivers who eat and drink while driving have trouble controlling their vehicles. 3. Preparing to smoke and smoking while driving A. Do not affect driving abilities. B. Help maintain driver alertness. C. Are distracting activities. D. Are not distracting activities. The answer is C. Preparing to smoke and smoking while driving are distracting activities. 4. The top major crash type for 16-year-old drivers in Pennsylvania is A. Single vehicle run off the road. B. Being sideswiped on an intersection. C. Driving in reverse on a side street. D. Driving on the shoulder of a highway. The answer is A. The number one major crash type for 16-year-old drivers in Pennsylvania involves a single vehicle hitting a stationary object. 5. When passing a bicyclist, you should A. Blast your horn to alert the bicyclist. B. Move as far left as possible. C. Remain in the center of the lane. D. Put on your four-way flashers. The answer is B. Always slow down and move as far left as possible, leaving a sufficient amount of space to pass safely. 6. When you drive through an area where children are playing, you should expect them A. To know when it is safe to cross. B. To stop at the curb before crossing the street. C. To run out in front of you without looking. D. Not to cross unless they are with an adult. The answer is C. Always anticipate that children may run out in front of you without looking. 7. If you are driving behind a motorcycle, you must A. Allow the motorcycle to use a complete lane. B. Drive on the shoulder beside the motorcycle. C. Allow the motorcycle to use only half a lane. D. Pass in the same lane where the motorcycle is driving. The answer is A. Treat a motorcycle as you would any other vehicle and allow the driver the full lane, following at a safe distance. 8. When traveling behind a motorcycle, A. Allow a following distance of at least 2 car lengths. B. Allow at least 2 seconds of following distance. C. Allow at least 4 seconds of following distance. D. Allow a following distance of at least 4 motorcycle lengths. The answer is C. Allow at least 4 seconds of following distance as you would any other vehicle. 9. You need to use extra caution when driving near a pedestrian using a white cane because A. He or she is deaf. B. He or she has a mental disability. C. He or she is blind. D. He or she has a walking problem. The answer is C. The pedestrian is blind or visually impaired and may not be aware of you. 10. When driving near a blind pedestrian who is carrying a white cane or using a guide dog, you should A. Slow down and be prepared to stop. B. Take the right of way. C. Proceed normally. D. Drive away quickly. The answer is A. When driving near a pedestrian using a white cane or guide dog, always slow down and be prepared to stop. 11. Who must yield when a driver is turning and a pedestrian is crossing without a traffic light? A. Whoever started last. B. The driver. C. Whoever is slower. D. The pedestrian. The answer is B. Pedestrians always have the right of way, whether or not there is a traffic light, so the driver must yield. 12. An orange triangle on the back of a vehicle indicates that vehicle A. Carries radioactive materials, B. Takes wide turns, C. Travels at slower speeds than normal traffic, D. Makes frequent stops. The answer is C. An orange triangle alerts you that the vehicle travels at slower speeds than normal traffic. 13. At night, it is hardest to see A. Road signs, B. Pedestrians, C. Other motorists, D. Street lights. The answer is B. At night, pedestrians are most difficult to see. 14. When a truck driver behind you wants to pass your vehicle, your speed should A. Remain steady or decrease, B. Change lanes, C. Change, D. Increase. The answer is A. Slightly decrease or keep your speed steady when a truck driver is looking to pass you. 15. When sharing the road with a truck, it is important to remember that, in general, trucks A. Take longer distances than cars to stop, B. Require less time to pass on a downgrade than cars, C. Require less turning radius than cars, D. Require less time to pass on an incline than cars. The answer is A. Trucks generally take longer distances to stop than cars. 16. If you stop at a railroad crossing with more than one track, A. Wait until you have a clear view of both tracks, B. Stop on the railroad track and watch for another train, C. Go through as soon as a train passes, D. Go through when one of the tracks is free. The answer is A. Be safe and wait to cross until you have a clear view of both tracks. 17. If you are following a truck that swings left before making a right turn at an intersection, you should remember that it is very dangerous to A. Try to squeeze between the truck and curb to make a right turn, B. Apply your brakes until the truck has completed the turn, C. Violate the 4-second following distance rule, D. Honk your horn at the truck driver. The answer is A. The truck needs to swing left to clear the curb and make the right turn, so allow them to make the turn before proceeding. Do not try to squeeze past. 18. The only time you do not have to stop for a school bus, when red lights are flashing and stop arm is extended, is when you A. Are driving on the opposite side of a divided highway, B. Are behind the bus, C. See no children present, D. Can safely pass on the left. The answer is A. The only time you do not have to stop for a school bus whose red lights are flashing and stop arm is extended is when you are driving on the opposite side of a divided highway. 19. When a school bus has its lights flashing and its stop arm extended, you must A. Stop at least 10 feet away from the bus, B. Pass if children have exited the bus, C. Stop if the bus is on the opposite side of a barrier, D. Drive slowly by the bus. The answer is A. You must stop at least 10 feet away from a bus with lights flashing and arm extended. 20. After a train has passed, you should A. Check again for approaching trains and proceed with caution, B. Wait for a green light, C. Proceed across the tracks, D. Blow horn and proceed. The answer is A. Be cautious and check again for approaching trains after one has passed. 21. If you need to slow down or stop when other drivers may not expect it, you should A. Quickly tap your brake pedal a few times, B. Use your emergency brake, C. Look over your shoulder for traffic in your blind spot, D. Get ready to blow your horn. The answer is A. Communicate your need to slow down or stop by tapping your brake pedal a few times. 22. When you are planning to make a turn, you should activate your turn signals A. Only if there are other drivers following you, B. Just as the front of your car reaches the intersection, C. 3 to 4 seconds before you reach the intersection, D. 2 car lengths before reaching the intersection? The answer is C. Alert other drivers of your intentions by signaling 3 to 4 seconds before you reach the intersection. 23. Before passing another vehicle, you should A. Flash your headlights to alert the driver. B. Turn on your four-way flashers to warn the driver. C. Give the proper turn signal to show you are changing lanes. D. Sound your horn to get the driver's attention. The answer is C. Before you change lanes to pass another vehicle, you should give the proper turn signal. 24. Your blind spot is the area of the road A. You cannot see without moving your head. B. Directly behind your vehicle. C. You see in your rearview mirror. D. You see in your side mirror. The answer is A. Your blind spot, left or right, is the area you can only see when turning your head. 25. Before passing another vehicle, you should signal A. Just before changing lanes. B. At any time. C. After changing lanes. D. Early enough so others know your plans. The answer is D. Signal early enough to let others know your plans before you change lanes or pass. 26. Before changing lanes on a multi-lane highway, you should A. Sound your horn. B. Turn on your headlights. C. Reduce your speed. D. Check your mirrors and blind spots. The answer is D. Check your mirrors and blind spots before you change lanes. 27. When you park on the roadway, you should A. Use your four-way flashers. B. Park at an angle. C. Keep your turn signal on. D. Turn your lights on. The answer is A. Use your four-way flashers when you park on a roadway. 28. Before backing up, you should A. Rely on your mirrors to see if it is clear to proceed. B. Flash your lights. C. Open your door to see if it is clear to proceed. D. Turn your head and look through the rear window. The answer is D. Turn your head and look through the rear window before backing up. 29. To help avoid crashes, you should A. Communicate with other drivers on the road. B. Ignore other drivers on the road. C. Drive on side streets and back roads. D. Avoid driving during rush hour. The answer is A. Communicating with other drivers on the road helps avoid crashes. 30. The driver in this picture is signaling that he is A. Slowing or stopping. B. Turning left. C. Turning right. D. Opening his door. The answer is A. The extended arm, bent down with palm back, is the hand signal for stopping or slowing. 31. If your turn signals fail, you should use what to indicate you are turning? A. Your horn. B. Your headlights. C. Hand signals. D. Your emergency flashers. The answer is C. Use your turning left, turning right, or stopping hand signals if your vehicle's turn signals fail. 31. When traveling below 40 miles per hour on a limited access highway, you should A. Drive on the shoulder. B. Use your high beams. C. Sound your horn to warn others. D. Use your four-way flashers. The answer is D. Use your four-way flashers to indicate that you're traveling below the minimum highway speed. 33. You should honk your horn when you A. Are traveling through an intersection. B. Are passing a bicyclist. C. See a child who is about to run into the street. D. Are parallel parking. The answer is C. Honk your horn to warn the child who is about to run into the street and be prepared to stop. 34. You must use your headlights when other vehicles are not visible from how many feet away? A. 1,000. B. 1,500. C. 1,800. D. 1,200. The answer is A. Use your headlights when other vehicles are not visible from 1,000 feet away. 35. If a vehicle using high beams comes towards you, you should A. Turn on your high beams. B. Turn off your headlights. C. Sound your horn. D. Flash your high beams. The answer is D. Flash your high beams once or twice to remind the other vehicle to turn theirs off. 36. If a vehicle using high beams comes towards you, you should look towards which side of the road? A. Either side. B. The center. C. The right side. D. The left side. The answer is C. Look off to the right side of the road to avoid being blinded by the high beams. 37. You may honk your horn when you A. Have to stop quickly. B. Are passing another car. C. Have lost control of your car. D. Are passing a bicyclist. The answer is C. You may honk your horn to alert other drivers you have lost control of your vehicle. 38. Your brake lights tell other drivers that you A. Are making a turn. B. Have your emergency brake on. C. Are changing lanes. D. Are slowing down or stopping. The answer is D. Your brake lights tell other drivers that you are slowing or stopping. 39. Before turning, you should A. Use your signal. B. Turn the wheel. C. Increase your speed. D. Change lanes. The answer is A. Always signal your intentions before turning. 40. The driver in the picture is A. Turning left. B. Slowing. C. Stopping. D. Turning right. The answer is D. The driver is signaling he is turning right. 41. The driver in the picture is A. Turning left. B. Stopping. C. Slowing. D. Turning right. The answer is A. The driver's arm signal indicates he is turning left. 42. If another car is in danger of hitting you, you should A. Sound your horn. B. Wave your arms. C. Use your emergency lights. D. Flash your headlights. The answer is A. If another car may hit you, sound your horn and be prepared to pull off the road to avoid them. 43. If you begin to feel tired while driving, the best thing to do is A. Get some coffee. B. Open your window. C. Stop driving. D. Turn on the radio. The answer is C. Stop driving if you begin to feel tired. 44. The effect that lack of sleep has on your safe driving ability is the same as A. The effect that alcohol has. B. The effect that amphetamines have. C. The effect that anger has. D. The effect that driving with teenagers has. The answer is A. Lack of sleep can have the same effect as alcohol. 45. Teenagers should try to get at least how many hours of sleep each night to avoid the risk of drowsy driving crashes? A. 7 hours. B. 6 hours. C. 8 hours. D. 9 hours. The answer is C. Teenagers should try to get at least 8 hours of sleep each night. 46. If another driver cuts you off in traffic, you should A. Pull next to the driver and yell at him or her. B. Ignore the other driver. C. Flash your high beams at the driver. D. Get back at the other driver by cutting him or her off. The answer is B. The best thing to do about aggressive drivers is to ignore them. 47. If someone is driving aggressively behind you, you should A. Try to get out of the aggressive driver's way. B. Stare at the driver as he or she is passing you. C. Speed up as he or she is passing you. D. Block the passing lane. The answer is A. Stay safe and try to get out of the aggressive driver's way. 48. For an average person, how many minutes does the body need to process the alcohol in one drink? A. 15. B. 60. C. 90. D. 30. The answer is B. It takes, on average, an hour for the body to process one drink. 49. What is it that limits your concentration, perception, judgment, and memory? A. Only a blood alcohol level greater than the legal limit. B. Alcohol does not. C. Even the smallest amount of alcohol. D. Only a blood alcohol level greater than 0.05. The answer is C. Even the smallest amount of alcohol limits your concentration, perception, judgment, and memory. 50. Taking drugs along with alcohol, A. increases the risk of causing a crash. B. Is no more dangerous than alcohol by itself. C. Lessens the effect of alcohol on your ability to drive. D. Has no effect on your general driving ability. The answer is A. Taking drugs with alcohol increases the risk of causing a crash. 51. As alcohol builds up in your blood, it A. slows down your reactions. B. Makes you feel less confident. C. Begins to metabolize itself more quickly. D. Decreases your driving errors. The answer is A. As alcohol builds up in your blood, it slows down your reactions. 52. If your blood alcohol level is 0.04, you A. are 2 to 7 times more likely to have a crash than a person who has not consumed any alcohol. B. Are above the legal blood alcohol limit but fine to drive. C. Can be very sure that you will drive safely. D. Should drink plenty of coffee before getting behind the wheel of your car. The answer is A. If your blood alcohol level is 0.04, you are 2 to 7 times more likely to crash than a person who has not consumed any alcohol. 53. When you hear a fire engine siren, you must A. Slow down until it passes you. B. Drive with your flashers on. C. Pull over to the side of the road and stop. D. Speed up and take the nearest exit. The answer is C. When you hear the siren, pull over to the side of the road and stop. 54. If you have a tire blowout, you should A. Allow the steering wheel to move freely. B. Let the car slow to a stop. C. Continue driving until you reach a garage. D. Brake hard to stop the car immediately. The answer is B. Let the car slow to a stop and pull off the road carefully. 55. If your car breaks down on a highway, you should A. Sit in your car and wait for help. B. Use your four-way flashers to warn other drivers. C. Sound your horn at passing motorists. D. Flash your headlights at oncoming traffic. The answer is B. Use your four-way flashers and lift your hood, if it is safe to do so, to warn other drivers that your car is disabled. 56. When you see an emergency vehicle with flashing lights, you must A. Slow down and keep moving in your lane. B. Keep driving in your lane. C. Pull to the curb and stop. D. Stop exactly where you are. The answer is C. Pull to the curb and stop when you see an emergency vehicle with flashing lights. 57. When driving on a one-way street and an emergency vehicle with flashing lights is behind your car, you A. Drive with your flashers on. B. Drive towards the nearest roadside and stop. C. Speed up and take the nearest exit. D. Slow down until the vehicle passes you. The answer is B. Drive towards the nearest roadside and stop. 58. After an emergency vehicle passes you with its siren on, you must A. Drive closely to the police car. B. Drive as fast as the police car. C. Avoid driving closer than 500 feet behind the emergency vehicle. D. Drive near the curb very slowly. The answer is C. Avoid driving closer than 500 feet behind the emergency vehicle that passes you. 59. Crashes in work zones are most commonly the result of A. Tire blowouts. B. Hydroplaning because of water sprayed on the roadway. C. Loss of steering control after driving over wet paint. D. Carelessness and speeding. The answer is D. Carelessness and speeding are the most common results of crashes in work zones. 60. When driving through a work zone, it is a good safety practice to A. Drive close to the vehicle in front of you to keep traffic flowing freely. B. Shorten your usual following distance by about half. C. Turn on your cruise control. D. Lengthen your usual following distance by double. The answer is D. Be extra cautious in work zones. Double your usual following distance. 61. On two-lane, two-way streets or highways, you should start left turns A. Close to the center line. B. Close to the outside line. C. In the center of the lane. D. Anywhere in the lane. The answer is A. Start your left turn close to the center line on two-lane, two-way roads. 62. To turn left on multi-lane streets and highways, you should start from A. The middle of the intersection. B. The right lane. C. The left lane. D. Any lane. The answer is C. Start your left turn on a multi-lane road from the left lane. 63. On a two-lane road, you may pass another vehicle on the right when A. Driving on a single-lane entrance ramp. B. The driver you are passing is traveling slower than the posted speed limit. C. Never. D. The driver you are passing is making a left turn. The answer is D. You may pass carefully on the right from the shoulder when the driver you are passing is making a left turn. 64. To pass a slower-moving vehicle on a two-lane road, you must A. Not cross the center line. B. Flash your lights to oncoming traffic. C. Use the shoulder. D. Use the lane that belongs to oncoming traffic. The answer is D. You must use the lane that belongs to oncoming traffic to pass a slower vehicle on a two-lane road. Do so with caution. 65. The pavement markings shown in the manual tell you that at the intersection ahead, A. Center lane traffic may go straight or turn left. B. You can only turn right from the center lane. C. The center lane merges into one lane. D. Center lane traffic must turn left. The answer is A. The split left and straight ahead arrow markings in the center lane means the center lane traffic may go straight or turn left. 66. The most important thing to remember about speed management and curves is to A. Drive at the posted speed limit as you enter the curve, then slow down at the sharpest part of the curve. B. Slow down before you enter the curve. C. Accelerate gently before you enter the curve. D. Drive at the posted speed limit of the roadway before, throughout, and after the curve. The answer is B. Slow down before you enter the curve. 67. Drivers entering a roundabout or traffic circle, A. Must stop before entering. B. Must yield to drivers in the roundabout or traffic circle. C. Have the right of way if they arrive first. D. Have the right of way if there are two lanes. The answer is B. You must yield to drivers already in the roundabout or traffic circle. 67. The law gives who the right of way at intersections? A. No one. B. Drivers turning left. C. Drivers going straight. D. Drivers turning right. The answer is A. There is no right-of-way law at intersections. 69. At an intersection with a stop sign, you should stop and A. Check your rearview mirror for cars tailgating. B. Go when the vehicle ahead of you goes. C. Look right first, then left, then right again. D. Look left first, then right, then left again. The answer is D. Stop, look left, look right, then quickly look left again before proceeding. 70. When entering a highway from an entrance ramp, you should generally A. Enter above the speed of traffic to get ahead. B. Enter slowly to avoid other vehicles. C. Stop first, then slowly enter traffic. D. Accelerate to the speed of traffic. The answer is D. Use the entrance ramp to accelerate to the speed of traffic in order to enter the highway safely. 71. When exiting a highway, you should slow down. A. On the main road, just before the exit lane. B. Once you see the toll booth. C. Once you have moved into the exit lane. D. When you first see the exit sign. The answer is C. When exiting, slow down once you have moved into the exit lane. 71. When driving on a freeway entrance ramp, you should look for a gap in freeway traffic by A. Looking in the inside rearview mirror only. B. Looking in the side view mirror only. C. Looking in both rearview and side view mirrors. D. Looking in your mirrors and turning your head to look over your shoulder. The answer is D. Look for a gap in traffic on the entrance ramp by checking in your mirrors and turning your head to look over your shoulder. 73. If you want to get off of a freeway, but you missed your exit, you should A. Go to the next exit and get off of the freeway there. B. Make a U-turn through the median. C. Pull onto the shoulder and back your car to the exit. D. Flag down a police officer for an escort back to your exit. The answer is A. You have no safe choice but to go to the next exit and get off of the freeway there. 74. You are waiting to turn left at a multi-lane intersection, and opposing traffic is blocking your view. You should A. Accelerate rapidly when the first lane you need to cross is clear. B. Wait until you can see all the lanes you need to cross before going ahead with your turn. C. Wait for the opposing driver to wave you across the intersection. D. Edge your car into each lane of opposing traffic as soon as it clears. The answer is B. If you're turning left at a multi-lane intersection, wait until you can see all the lanes you need to cross before going ahead with your turn. 75. When no signs, signals, or police tell you what to do at an intersection, the law states that A. Drivers on the right must yield to drivers on the left. B. There are no laws stating you must yield. C. Drivers going straight must yield to drivers turning left at the intersection. D. Drivers turning left must yield to drivers going straight through the intersection. The answer is D. In the absence of signs, signals, or police, drivers turning left must yield to drivers going straight through the intersection. 76. Highway hypnosis is a driver condition that can result from A. Staring at the roadway for long periods. B. Frequent rest stops. C. Too much sleep the night before your trip. D. Short trips on expressways. The answer is A. Highway hypnosis results from staring at the roadway for long periods without adjusting your eyes. 77. When passing on a multi-lane highway, A. Be sure the passing lane is clear. B. Pass only on the right. C. Watch for oncoming traffic. D. There is no need to signal. The answer is A. Make sure the passing lane is clear, signal, and change lanes to pass. 78. The 4-second rule refers to how one should A. Yield to other cars. B. Turn at stop signs. C. Follow another car. D. Cross an intersection. The answer is C. Follow another car the length it takes you to pass a mark 4 seconds after the car in front of you. 79. It is best to keep a space cushion A. Only in back of your vehicle. B. Only on the left and right side of your vehicle. C. Only in front of your vehicle. D. On all sides of the vehicle. The answer is D. Keep safety cushions on all sides of your vehicle. 80. Allowing a space cushion is important because it A. Prevents distractions from other vehicles. B. Allows you time to react to situations. C. Keeps traffic flowing at a safe pace. D. Keeps other drivers alert. The answer is B. Space cushions allow you time to react to situations. 81. Allow a larger space cushion when stopping. A. On an uphill. B. At an intersection. C. At a stop sign. D. At a toll plaza. The answer is A. To allow for the vehicle in front of you rolling back, allow a larger space cushion when stopping uphill. 82. When making a turn, you must do what with your speed? A. Increase. B. Maintain. C. Vary. D. Reduce. The answer is D. Reduce your speed when you are making a turn. 83. When driving in traffic, it is safest to A. Fluctuate your speed to keep alert. B. Drive faster than the flow of traffic. C. Drive slower than the flow of traffic. D. Drive with the flow of traffic. The answer is D. Driving with the flow of traffic is safest. 84. The maximum speed limit in this state is how many miles per hour? A. 55. B. 50. C. 60. D. 70. The answer is D. The maximum speed limit in Pennsylvania is 70 miles per hour. 85. Drive below the posted speed limit when A. Anything makes conditions less than perfect. B. Others drive below the speed limit. C. Entering a highway where there are other cars. D. You are on a 4-lane road. The answer is A. It's always wise to drive below the posted speed limit when anything makes conditions less than perfect. 86. The amount of space you need to cross traffic depends on the A. Road and weather conditions and oncoming traffic. B. Presence of a stop sign. C. Use of your turn signals. D. Cars behind you. The answer is A. Judge the space you need to cross traffic by road and weather conditions and oncoming traffic. 87. Your ability to stop is affected by A. Signal lights. B. Other cars on the road. C. The time of day. D. The condition of the road. The answer is D. The condition of the road affects your ability to stop. 88. Which of the following is true about the speed at which you travel? A. The safe speed to drive depends on many conditions. B. Driving slowly is always safer. C. The speed limit is always a safe speed. D. Accelerating is always dangerous. The answer is A. Many conditions affect your safe driving speed. 89. To prepare for anything coming up in the road ahead, you should A. Continually scan the entire road and roadsides. B. Stare straight ahead at all times. C. Drive with your left foot resting slightly on the brake pedal. D. Maintain focus towards the middle of the road. The answer is A. Continually scan the entire road and roadsides to be prepared for what might be coming up in the road ahead. 90. At highway speeds, on a dry road, a safe following distance is at least A. 3 seconds of following distance from the car ahead of you. B. 2 seconds of following distance from the car ahead of you. C. 4 seconds of following distance from the car ahead of you. D. 2 car lengths of following distance from the car ahead of you. The answer is C. Follow 4 seconds behind the car ahead of you. 91. What can you do to avoid the need to make emergency or panic stops while driving in traffic? A. Honk your horn to make others aware of your presence. B. Look ahead and maintain a safe following distance. C. Drive in the right lane only. D. Drive slower than the flow of traffic. The answer is B. If you look ahead and maintain a safe following distance, the need to make an emergency or panic stop decreases. 92. When faced with one oncoming car to the left and a bicyclist to the right, you should A. Pull onto the shoulder. B. Split the difference. C. Let the car pass and then pass the bike. D. Pass the bike quickly. The answer is C. Slow to let the oncoming car pass so you can move over enough to safely pass the bicyclist. 93. If an oncoming driver is heading toward you in your lane, you should A. Steer right, blow your horn, and accelerate. B. Steer left, blow your horn, and brake. C. Steer right, blow your horn, and brake. D. Stay in the center of your lane, blow your horn, and brake. The answer is C. Steer right, blow your horn, and brake if a car is coming toward you in your lane. 94. If the rear of your vehicle starts to skid left, you should A. Steer left. B. Hit your brakes. C. Accelerate. D. Steer right. The answer is A. Steer in the direction of the skid, in this case, to the left. 95. The most effective thing you can do to reduce your risk of getting injured or killed in a traffic crash is A. Wear your seatbelt. B. Limit your driving to weekdays. C. Stay in the right lane on multi-lane highways. D. Limit your driving to times between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. The answer is A. Wearing your seatbelt is the best thing you can do to reduce your risk of being injured or killed in a crash. 96. When driving on slick roads, you should A. Take turns more slowly. B. Change lanes quickly. C. Accelerate quickly. D. Brake hard. The answer is A. Always slow down when driving on slick roads, especially when turning. 97. Which of the following is true about driving on a wet roadway? A. As you drive faster, your tires become less effective. B. Water does not affect cars with good tires. C. Deeper water is less dangerous. D. As you decrease your speed, the roadway becomes more slippery. The answer is A. On wet roads, tires become less effective at higher speeds. 98. When driving on slippery roads, you should A. Use alternate routes. B. Drive as you would on dry roads. C. Increase your following distance. D. Avoid crossing bridges or intersections. The answer is C. Increase your space cushion to allow for less than optimal road conditions. 99. When driving on wet roads, you should A. Drive the speed limit. B. Drive slightly faster than the speed limit. C. Drive 5 to 10 miles below the speed limit. D. Stay close to the vehicle ahead. The answer is C. Drive 5 to 10 miles below the speed limit to allow for less than optimal road conditions. 100. When driving on wet roads, you should A. Increase following distance to 5 or 6 seconds. D. Increase following distance to 2 seconds. C. Not be concerned about following distance. D. Maintain the 4-second following distance rule. The answer is A. Again, when road conditions are not optimal, increase your space cushion by increasing to a 5 or 6-second following distance. 101. Roads freeze more quickly when they are A. Flat, B. Curvy, C. In the sun, D. Shaded. The answer is D. Shaded roads freeze more quickly. 102. Roads become very slippery, A. When it has been raining for an hour or more. B. The day after it rains. C. For the first 10 to 15 minutes of a rainstorm. D. Right after the rain has stopped. The answer is C. Due to the mix of water and oily residue from vehicles, roads become very slippery for the first 10 to 15 minutes of a rainstorm. 103. Hydroplaning is usually caused by A. Excessive stops. B. Sudden stops. C. Sudden turns. D. Excessive speed. The answer is D. Excessive speed on wet roads is usually the cause of hydroplaning. 104. Hydroplaning can be helped by driving A. Through shallow water. B. Faster. C. Slower. D. Through deep water. The answer is C. Drive slower on wet roads to reduce the chance of hydroplaning. 105. When driving in fog, you should use your what? A. Low beam headlights. B. High beam headlights. C. Parking lights. D. Hazard flashers. The answer is A. Use low beams in fog for best visibility. 106. Compared to driving during the day, driving at night is A. Less dangerous. B. No more or less dangerous. C. More dangerous. D. Easier on your eyes. The answer is C. Driving during the night when visibility is lower is more dangerous. 107. Anything that requires you to what could cause you to crash? A. Take your eyes off the road. B. Take your hands off the wheel. C. Take your attention away from the driving task. D. All of the above. The answer is D. All of these unsafe practices could cause you to crash. 108. Distracted drivers are at a greater risk of a crash when they are using which of the following? A. CD player. B. Radio. C. Cell phone. D. All of the above. The answer is D. Being distracted by a CD player, radio, or cell phone puts you at a greater risk of a crash. 109. When you are in a line of traffic that is crossing a railroad track that has no signals or gates, A. You have the right of way and do not need to check for trains. D. You may pass slower drivers crossing the track. C. You need to make sure there is space to get all the way across the tracks without stopping before you start to cross. D. All of the above. The answer is C. Don't just follow the leader when crossing a railroad track. Make sure there is space to get all the way across the tracks without stopping before you start to cross. 110. When approaching a stopped school bus with its red lights flashing and its stop arm extended, you must A. Stop 5 feet away from the bus. B. Stop only if you see children are present. C. Stop and remain stopped until it appears safe to proceed. D. Stop and remain stopped until the red lights stop flashing and the stop arm has been withdrawn. The answer is D. Stop and remain stopped until the red lights stop flashing and the stop arm has been withdrawn, or risk